and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Coach. I'm Mo Melhart. I'm the head volleyball coach here at CSUMB, and today I'm very excited to talk to the one and only head men's basketball coach, Isaac Williams. Welcome, Isaac.
Wow, that's quite an introduction. I guess everybody is a one and only, so I won't be special in that way, but that's good. Thanks.
Well, I did want to ask you only because I know through the past year with COVID, you've sounds like you've upped your golf game a little bit. Is that true?
No, I mean, golf is one of those things where you never can master it, no matter what. And you see it happen, like even at the highest levels. It's exciting, frustrating, and everything in between. It's just something that I always have enjoyed, and you live in a place that has great golf. So you try to take advantage, and you never get to play as much as you want, but I'm not good by any means.
What before we get into talking about you and basketball, have you played a favorite course here living in Monterey? Have you gotten to play one that you love more than the others?
Yeah, a few years ago, I played within a couple of months' time. I played Pebble Beach and then Monterey Peninsula Country Club. I've played both of those, but Pebble Beach just has so much history. Like you're on the places where Tiger Woods hit shots, or where Watson chipped in from, or whatever, and that's like that's all pretty cool. And to be honest, I would probably pay like a decent amount of money just to walk around and look at the scenery. I mean, it's a beautiful location. Yeah. But Monterey Peninsula it's a little more user-friendly and has some of the same views. And there's no shortage of great courses. There's no wrong answer. But if I had to pick one, I'd say probably Pebbles. I imagine, Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan, the coaches didn't always want them shooting the shots they shot, but they knew the balance of when to go coach. I got it, and I never really was that person. I was much more of like a letter of law. If the coach said do this, and that's what I did, and try to do what's best for the team. I think on the court, when I was playing, I was one of the better defensive players, so I drew the top matchup most nights on the perimeter, and that's kind of what got me on the court. And I took a lot of pride in that, which when you look at how we coach, I'm not sure that you would see that translation, because as a coach how much I love offense and like the strategy of it all. And but yeah, when I played, I was kind of like a guy who just did what the coach wanted, guarded the good guys, and tried to do the best I could with them.
Like, how early on did you know, like, man, I really want to be a basketball coach? I mean, was that just something that happened, or how did that all come to be?
Yeah, so I first tried out for basketball in the 9th grade, and I got cut. And after being cut from the team, that's really when I fell in love with it. I was so mad because there were people I thought that weren't as talented as I was that made the team, that I wanted to prove wrong. So I played every day. And I didn't have a trainer or anything like the kids have now. Yeah. But I just played basketball every single day. And in the 10th grade, I was lucky enough to play for a coach named Jeff White, who was young, and he had just got done playing Division II basketball in Western Washington. He's a really good player and unbelievable person. And there was something about what he did for me, like taught me a lot about confidence. He taught me a lot about basketball and a ton about life, and how to believe in yourself, why you should believe in yourself. And he just made me think that I could be more. So basically in the 10th grade, I just said, I want to be like Jeff White. And so I knew from that point on that I was always going to be a basketball coach. I didn't know if I'd coach college or high school or 5th grade AAU or whatever, but I knew that my calling was basketball, and not just because I love the game. At that point, I did love it, but at that point it was more about like, man, like this guy totally changed the trajectory of my whole life. I didn't have a dad at home, and he wasn't like a dad because he was closer to our age, but he was just like the first male role model that was just like cool and took interest in me. And so I just wanted to be like him and be able to affect people the same way that he affected me. So I knew in the 10th grade that I was coaching basketball. And, even though I went on to play as a high school player and 4 years in college, it was like I never had kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go play overseas or go to the NBA or anything like that. I was always looking at it as like an opportunity to learn as much as I could so that I could apply it to my coaching. So we different coaches I played for or played against or situations I found myself in with teammates, I always tried to just put that away so I could apply it to coaching later on. And I was lucky enough right after I got done playing to get a high school coaching job, and just everything kind of grew from that point.
Basketball was my first love. I had every Grant Hill jersey ever made.
I've seen your jumper,
Well, no,
I think it's a good thing you chose volleyball.
Okay, to be fair, I will connect with you on the defense thing. That was definitely my strong suit, which I don't think is a shock to anyone that knows me. I was not a shooter. I could defend and rebound, but that was pretty much it. But one of the other similarities is just the club scene and the AAU and club volleyball. And, it's really, really big and can be a really positive thing. It can also, in my opinion, be a little bit of a negative thing, depending on, a lot of factors. But with AAU, with club basketball, with junior colleges, with transfer, I mean, you have a very interesting approach to recruiting, just how you recruit, what you're drawn to, what you look for. Because I think that's really interesting, I think in basketball in general, because it is such a unique, everybody can do different things, right? And everybody kind of, you have a vision of what you want your team to look like and how you want it to perform and function. So just talk to me a little bit about that and what your process has been since you've been here.
Yeah, I guess I've been around long enough to see how AAU has evolved so much. I mean, when I was playing in high school, there wasn't really AAU at that point. I think actually I played in one of the first, at that time in the greater Seattle area, there was a thing called BCI. Ed Pepple was the legendary coach at Mercer Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he kind of was like, that was kind of like the forefather to AAU as we kind of know it now, and it's as a coach now in college where you're recruiting, there are tons of benefits to it in that you can go to a gym that has 26 courts similar to volleyball and walk around and be able to watch, like all these talented kids all in under one roof. I think there's a lot of pressure on kids when they get on these teams. Their goal is always to get the highest level scholarship that they can get, and which is a great goal. Nobody would ever fault them for that. If you can find a way to get your college paid for and play at the highest level, then that's great. If that's your goal. There are a lot of things that you can't tell from an AAU game. Now, what you can see is like talent against other talented players. And that's super valuable. But I think we all know that it's not just talent. So some of the most important things that you would evaluate someone can't be seen really in that forum. So it requires, obviously you need to, hey, this is a pool of kids that have the talent set that we like. Okay, now we need to watch them with their high school team to see how these other intangible things apply. So it's a tool, but it has to be used kind of in the right way to get the desired outcome, of having whoever fits your playing style and your culture and all that. When you take a job, I think you have to look at it from the outside and go, okay, what's this place's niche for recruiting? What type of kids would love, who wants to live in Monterey Bay? What type of kid? And no place is for everybody. You can't just bring anybody from everywhere. And Monterey is no different. I mean, it's amazing, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't be for every kid. So you've got to know who would be happy and love living in the area. And then you've got to look at the league and say, okay, how can we, your goal is to win the league. So how can you win the league? And so when we looked at the league, we said, okay, the conference is big, strong, athletic, maybe I'm venturing to guess one of the most big, strong, athletic Division II conferences in the entire country. Extraordinarily well coached. And so when we looked at it, you go, well, I don't know that you're just going to outcoach everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we try to do what everybody else is doing, we would be literally saying, oh, we're going to get those best kids just based on coaching. And that's not realistic. And so you really looked at it and go, okay, well, how can we be different enough so that we can compete with the teams that are at the top of the league? And so when we looked at it from that, we just kind of felt like there is a level of athleticism, size, and strength that you need to have just to get into the contest. Otherwise, you get bullied. But mostly, for us, we want to try to get skilled players that can really shoot, pass, and dribble at every position.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, you'd love them for all to be 6'10" or whatever. but at the end of the day, you want to put 5 really skilled guys out there that are unselfish and will play together and understand concepts and how to make decisions, and then that way you can space the floor, and that guy who's touching the top of the backboard for somebody else, maybe he has to guard the 3-point line against us. It opens up different things. So, and I think whatever job you take, you have to be able to adjust to whatever is like the best fit for that place. You can't have an ego that tells you just because you like to coach this, right, that you can bring that to wherever you're going. And I think one of the hard things early on is just like getting a footing and recruiting where you can get the guys that you need that can impact it. But I feel like we made some strides in our last season, and we're really close to being very competitive, so yeah, that's kind of the way we looked at it. I mean, it evolves as you go, I certainly don't think that I knew everything what we needed to do before I even got here. So we've learned some lessons along the way, and hopefully you just kind of continue to learn and evolve as it goes along.
You mentioned having unselfish players, which I find is really awesome that you said that. And I'm curious, do you think, is it hard to find that, or do you feel like that's something that can be taught once they're in a team, in a program that expects that, and that's part of your style of play?
Yeah, I mean, first, I guess if I said that, I misspoke. What I really meant to say is unselfish people, because I think there's kind of like a general misconception that selfishness is just a guy who shoots a lot. And that's not the case. If you're a really efficient scorer and you can get your shots off, you should shoot a lot. That's not being selfish. It's unselfish. Or it's probably selfish if you're passing up good shots and you're a shot maker.
Yeah.
Really, like an unselfish person is really what I like to think of like this, what our program is really all about. And it's people who are really like driven to be the best possible individuals they could be. And so people who put in extra time and they listen to coaching, they apply it, and they do all the sacrifices, things that nobody really likes to do to improve. It's easy to go in there and work on, shoot shots. Nobody gets tired of going in there and shooting shots. But when you're not a very good ball handler and you go in there and dribble in the gym by yourself, it's not easy. Or if you're a poor free throw shooter and your confidence is low because even when you're in there by yourself, you're clanking them off the rim. It's hard to just make time in your day to go in there and practice and get better at those things. But doing that is an unselfish act, and people who do those things and they're willing to do that, but then still maybe go into a game and maybe put that aside for whatever's best for the team. Like to me, that's the ultimate unselfishness. Saying to somebody, hey, you're a 20% free throw shooter. Between now and next November, I need you to make 1,000 threes a day. But when we get back in November, there's a chance I might say, yeah, I don't want you to shoot any threes. Like you're still a 20% shooter. To the unselfish person sees that it's part of the journey, and and that whether you achieve what you want out of it, and even if you don't become a 40% free throw shooter and get to shoot 5 threes a game, if you never get to shoot another 3, the journey of working on that skill has a lot of benefits and are important too. Like to me, that is somebody who puts the team in front of everybody else, who wants to be as good as they can individually, but on a given night puts it aside for whatever is best for the team on that night or that half or that possession. That's not a common trait. It's an uncommon trait. And so it's not, you're dealing with really young men in our case, and they don't see it every day. So it's not like it's an easy journey, you know. That same kid goes, coach, I just made, 50,000 threes. And now you're telling me I shouldn't shoot them, and not that I really do that, but anybody who watched my teams know that we pretty much let them shoot. But but I think that you bump into that, and I think you have disagreements and being able to talk through it. I don't mind somebody being upset with any decision I make, and being able to talk about it, and know that it comes from a place for me that I just want the best for the team, and I want what's best for them at the same time. And those sometimes don't seem to match up every time, but as long as they know that my heart's in the right place, usually works out okay. Not always, but usually works out okay. So you just try your best to get people to see the bigger picture, and that it's something bigger than them, and whether that's on the court or campus beautification when we're picking up trash on Wednesdays and they don't want to do it, but seeing that serves a greater purpose bigger than them. I think all those little things are really what I hope our program to be about, and I think we're pretty close.
Talk to me a little bit about the big picture of your team. I mean, you had a really strong 2019. 2019. And I was trying to think back, and you had some additions to your roster during, I think, that time, like semester. You have a number of players that are kind of all over the place, and getting your guys back on campus, getting them back in the gym, getting going again. I mean, what are you most looking forward to, and what do you think that looks like for your team in 2021 and 2022?
Oh man. Well, yeah, I guess for anybody who wouldn't know exactly how it went for us, our season we were playing when COVID was really starting to take hold around the country. I mean, it had already really exploded, obviously, in Asia and in Europe, and it was really starting to, we had the incident with the cruise ship that was docked, really close by.
Yeah.
That was during our season. So we actually were on the road down in LA, and for our last games, we came back. I think we flew in on a Sunday, and it was that Wednesday or Thursday that the world stopped, as everybody says, right? So everybody was sent home. So we actually had a brief 15-minute meeting where we updated them on what we thought it meant for COVID. And at that point, it's kind of like, well, hopefully we can be back in July. I know the guys were planning on staying here for the summer, and we were going to talk about housing or whatever. We thought they'd be away for a few weeks or a couple months, and that was the last time I saw my team. Of course, we had to recruit, thinking that 2020-21 we were going to have a season. We certainly were going to be back by August and be playing basketball in November. So we recruited, and we were really excited about our recruiting class. And some of those kids just still haven't even been to campus. So us not only not having a season, but having all of our athletes, for the most part, living with their families and not being around and not being able to interact with them has been one of the most challenging things that have really happened, not only in my career, but in my life. It's been from a personal standpoint, it's been a really hard year for many reasons, like has for many people. And so when you ask me like what I'm looking forward to the most is like just going into the gym and just like goofing around with all those guys, we have a great group of people, human beings. And so I love and they're, mess around shooting free throws and pretending like I can still play. And guys are walking in the gym, and, you're bumping them around and how are you doing? Oh, I like those shoes you got on, or you beefed up over the last year, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like just giving guys a hard time and being able to be around them, not even really like basketball related, Of course, I would love to be able to do my job and coach and teach, and that's great. But the thing that I want the most is actually like those 15 minutes before practice when it's loose and it's about the relationships that you have with those guys and catching up with them I mean, I enjoy that. I've said it's probably my whole coaching career, but it's the minutes before and after practice that I love the most. I really like our roster.
Mhm.
And it's hard to say, because again, we haven't seen them in a long time.
Right.
But I think the character of our kids is high, and I think that they, as much as they can, they are working hard to be in the best physical condition and getting as much basketball as they can. It's harder in some places than others, but
Mhm.
I think we got a great group, and I'm looking forward to all the potential that we have as a team, in terms of being on the court, wins and losses, and everything. And I think we're still relatively young. We'll only have a couple seniors and 3 seniors, and so yeah, I think the good things are ahead. Um, and more than anything, I just want to hang out with them. I think that's going to be fun.
Well, to end here, I have a few this or that questions for you to see, what your answers might be. I think, sweet or salty?
Both. Yes. I don't know if that's one of the options, but it would be sweet for sure. But if you could do sweet and savory, that's good.
Vans or Converse?
I do have both.
Mm-hmm.
But I would definitely say Vans.
Iced coffee or hot coffee?
Okay, man, this is tough because I've always been a hot coffee, but I've recently been getting into iced just now. So I'll still go with hot, but okay. Iced is gaining ground.
All right, last one. A good book or a good movie?
Boy, you got some good ones here. Yeah. I'll say a good book, and I've been doing a lot of audio books. And I've got that like a platform and delivery. When you're out on a walk or a drive or whatever, or in the mornings. Yeah, I'll say audio book.
But thank you for being here. I want to say a special shout out to Captain Stoker Coffee. Have you been down there, by the way?
Of course, many times.
I'm just making sure. Some people haven't, so I'm making sure that they know that they've been great partnering with us to make this stuff happen. So thank you to them. Thank you, Isaac, head men's basketball coach, CSUMB, for being here, and looking forward to seeing your guys back on campus very soon.
Thanks, Mo. Great job with everything you're doing here, and looking forward to seeing real people in real life.
That's right. Go Otters.